Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the League of Sports podcast for March 12th, 2025. Jam-packed show for you, as always. So, NFL free agency is really the dominant story going on right now. So, we're going to break down the Bosa signing to Buffalo, then the Devontae Adams signing with the Rams, and finally break down everything the Dolphins are doing in the Miami Minute. Now, of course, that's everything the Dolphins are doing so far. I'm sure there will be more. But, as it goes, we might need to do a very long podcast with some co-hosts to break down all of the interesting signings. But for now, for this episode, we'll just have a couple of them for you. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Joey Bosa was released from the Los Angeles Chargers, and for a while there, it felt like he was either going to go to the San Francisco 49ers and join his brother there or sign with the Miami Dolphins. I even wrote an article for DolphinsTalk.com where I talked about how Joey Bosa made a lot of sense for the Dolphins and what they're trying to do. Mike McDaniel is a huge fan of having as many defensive ends, pass rushers as possible. And due to injuries, not been able to have that. Obviously, Jalen Phillips tore his Achilles, and then he came back last year, and then he tore his ACL. Bradley Chubb tore his ACL, and he was out for all of last year. Chop Robinson fortunately came in and developed. So I thought adding Bosa, who is an injury-prone player of late, he's missed a lot of games these last 3 seasons, would make sense for the Dolphins because they aren't afraid to add people with injury histories to their roster. But that was not to be. And I thought, okay, well, if he's not going to sign with the Dolphins, I feel like he'll probably sign with the 49ers, right? Nick Bosa is on the 49ers. That's his brother. And it felt like you don't really have many opportunities in life to play with your brother in the NFL. That was just my thoughts for him. And it was unlikely that the South Beach allure was more alluring than playing with your brother in San Francisco, which is, a nice enough place to live also. But at the 11th hour, the Buffalo Bills came in, they swooped in, they replaced Von Miller, who they had released earlier in the week, and signed the 5-time Pro Bowl defensive end to a 1-year, $12.6 million deal. So this was a little surprising to me just because nobody really had Buffalo signing him. But I do think it makes sense more than San Francisco and more than Miami, strictly because the Buffalo Bills have Josh Allen, right? Josh Allen's going to give that team a chance to win and a chance to compete for the Super Bowl. Bosa, he's 30 years old now. Like we said, he's been injury prone the last couple of seasons. So he's, not going to be as available probably for the long haul, right? This is the twilight of his career. It sounds crazy. He's younger than I am, but in NFL terms, he's a grizzled vet, and he is closer to the end of his career than to the beginning of it, to be sure. So while it was surprising, given the fact that the murmurs were the 49ers and Dolphins were the ones leading the charge for Joey Bosa, I think it makes sense. And it's disappointing as a Dolphins fan to see the Buffalo Bills sign a talented player like this. That's not what you ever want to see a rival team do. But at the end of the day, it's not terribly surprising to see that's how things went. So if you're a Chargers fan, what do you think of them releasing Bosa? If you're a 49ers fan, what do you think of Bosa not joining his brother in San Francisco? If you're a Dolphins fan, are you disappointed that he is not going to be in Miami this year? And if you're a Bills fan, how excited are you to have Joey Bosa? Or are you potentially worried that he might be too injury prone to really be effective, given that he's been so injured the last few seasons? anyone from those fan bases, please let me know your thoughts. I'm very interested in them. And let's move on to the next topic. Devontae Adams has had a weird couple of years, right? So he was with the Packers, and we all thought he was going to stay with the Packers for as long as Aaron Rodgers was there. But Aaron Rodgers was so wishy washy about returning to the Packers years over years that it ultimately prompted Devontae Adams to search out another, you know, place to play. And so he went to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders were his childhood favorite team, and it seemed to make sense. First year he was there, really great season. Second year he was there, things began to, you know, the wheels came off the cart, if you will. He was caught on mic being like, I'm going to get killed out there based on how Jimmy Garoppolo was throwing him the ball. He was very flustered and upset generally with everything going on with the Raiders, and he ultimately was able to kind of orchestrate a trade out of Vegas to the Jets. So he gets traded to the Jets, rejoins his friend Aaron Rodgers, and they have like a dramatic reveal on the Pat McAfee show. And just like, okay, let's see if he can help Aaron Rodgers turn things around here with the Jets. Ultimately, that was not possible for many reasons. So the Jets, everyone gets fired. The new coach comes in. He tells Aaron Rodgers he's out, and they end up releasing Devontae Adams, saving like a little over $29 million in cap space and kind of putting to bed the whole Aaron Rodgers era of, a not good era for the New York Jets. So then it was a little unclear. Is he going to sign with Aaron Rodgers again? Where's he going to go? And ultimately, he decided not to do that. He went to the Rams, who do not have an opening at quarterback, as they were able to convince Matthew Stafford to stay after he initially was looking for a trade out of there, but then he ended up restructuring his contract. So Devontae Adams has signed a 2-year deal with the Rams. In 2025, he'll make $8 million, and in 2026, he'll make $16 million. And then he also has $12 million in signing bonus and $1 million available in incentives. So this is, I think, a good signing for the Rams, who are certainly in a place where it's like, we got 1-2 more years of Matthew Stafford tops. Let's sign Devontae Adams, who was once probably the best receiver in the league, to a 2-year deal, see what we can get out of him. We're getting rid of Cooper Kupp. We're moving on to Devontae Adams, which I think right now Devontae Adams is a better player than Cooper Kupp, so I think it makes a lot of sense from that point of view. And they're going to make, a legitimate push. This is going to make Puka Nacua better because he won't have to be the number one receiver, even though he's certainly capable of it. But now as a number 2 receiver, which, ideally he would have been with Kupp, but Kupp was always, injured and not as effective. He's going to go off, and he's already, switched his jersey number from 17 to 12 to give Devontae Adams number 17. So that's good vibes, of course, for the Rams already. And I just think this is a good move. And I think it's good for Devontae Adams to just remove himself from Aaron Rodgers. I know that they're friends. I know that he had a lot of success in Green Bay, but that's over. The success is over. And I think he can actually have success with Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, and everyone on the Rams. If you're a Rams fan, what do you think about this signing? Are you as excited as I am in terms of thinking that he can be very successful? Let me know in the comments. All right, welcome to the Miami Minute, where we cover my favorite team, the Miami Dolphins. In this episode, we're going to be going over who the Dolphins have signed and re-signed thus far in this season. So I'm taking all of these signings from dolphinstalk.com. I am a contributor for this website, and I am also, somebody who just loves the Dolphins, loves the work that all the other writers are doing on Dolphins Talk. Very talented group of writers. there. So let's start off with the Dolphins re-signing Tyrell Dodson to a 2-year, $8.25 million deal. So the linebacker should provide a lot of depth and compete for a starting role with the Dolphins this season. He started 3 games last season, played in 8 games, and had 36 tackles as well as 3 interceptions. So a solid signing for a player who has a good amount of upside there. Next, probably the signing I'm most excited for is the Dolphins signing wide receiver Nick Westbrook Akini. I hope I am pronouncing his name right. I will certainly learn it by opening day, I'm sure. So it's a 2-year, $6.5 million deal with 3.2 million guaranteed. So this last season, he had 9 touchdowns, which was a career high, and he had 32 receptions for 497 yards. He's 6'2", so this is big, not just because he's tall. That's like not a pun or a joke or anyways, but the Dolphins have 2 premier wide receivers in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They are short, very fast, but also short for the NFL. So he will add a new dimension to the receiving game as the third receiver, something that defenses will have to adjust to. And I'm very excited to see what Mike McDaniel can do in his mad scientist brain with him as a third wide receiver. So again, most excited for that. The Dolphins obviously did not sign Javon Holland. He went to the Giants, so they agreed to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal with former Jet safety Aston Davis. So Davis, he has 175 career tackles, 8 interceptions, and he played in 15 games with the Jets last season. They needed to sign somebody. I think I still believe Javon Holland has probably higher upside, but last season really not that good. And then they didn't want to pay the price. So hopefully Davis will be able to step up there. Next, the re-signed linebacker Quentin Bell to a 1-year, $1.5 million deal. So he should be a good depth pass rusher / linebacker for the Dolphins. He played sparingly, but he did catch my eye a little bit last season. So I'm excited to see what he brings to the table next year. They also re-signed safety Elijah Campbell to 1-year, $1.9 million deal. Again, Elijah Campbell, perhaps not the greatest safety, but they do need depth here in the absence of Javon Holland. So, like the move, and I'm interested to see how he'll be used going forward. And will he compete with Davis for a starting role, or will he be the backup? That remains to be seen. But, good signing, good depth for the Dolphins there. Then they also signed Ifitu Melifonwu. I am so sorry that I certainly butchered that name, but he is a safety with the Detroit Lions, now with the Miami Dolphins. So I think that this is a solid signing. Obviously, he had some injury problems last year, but he has 2 interceptions and 72 career tackles in his career. He was drafted from Syracuse in 2021. And again, as many bodies, as much depth as they can put in safety to replace Javon Holland, I am all for. Next, the Dolphins signed offensive tackle Larry Borom from the Chicago Bears. So he is going to come in and, well, he may not be like a standout great offensive lineman. I will defend the Dolphins signing anybody for offensive line because they were bad the last few years. So anyone who can come in here and help out, I am all for. Speaking of, they signed James Daniels on a 3-year, $24 million contract with 10.735 guaranteed. So he was with the Steelers last year, originally drafted by the Bears. And I mean, he has some injury history, obviously, tearing his Achilles in 2024, but hopefully he'll be able to bounce back. And again, bodies. That's what we need. We need people to come in and compete and try to help this offensive line succeed. Finally, and certainly most controversially, the Dolphins address their backup situation. I wrote a blog on Dolphins Talk, kind of asking to have Mac Jones be the backup. And we would get a former AFC East quarterback, but not the one that I wanted. So they signed Zach Wilson, former Jets quarterback, and then he was with the Broncos last season. Former second overall pick. It's a 1-year deal for $6 million, 12 and 21 record, and 57% completion percentage. I don't like this at all. My guess is that Mike McDaniel believes that he can fix him. He looks at Zach Wilson, he sees the talent, and he just thinks, I can fix him. But this is a 1-year deal, so we'll see if he will even have the chance to play. Personally, I hope not, but we'll see. So those are the signings thus far. I'm sure there will be more. But if you're a Dolphins fan, what do you think of all these signings? What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? Are you in agreement with me that Zach Wilson was kind of interesting to potentially bad choice? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of the We Good Sports Podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe. Check out my work on dolphinstalk.com and on our other channels, which are, of course, We Get Everything, where we do video essays, Those Fake Nerds, which is nerd and pop culture news, and Better Radio, which is, of course, our podcasting channel for all of our podcasts that don't have to do with sports. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.